in our community who've been impacted by this tragedy. We know our community's been hit hard, and so many of our employees and families have been affected by this. So I want everyone to know that we truly are sorry and know what a tragedy it has been. And I want you to know that our efforts to get back to school and to get our students to a safe place are in no way minimizing the hurt and recovery that we know will take place for some time to come. Our schools are our community. I want everybody to know that. Our schools are our community, and they're the center of our community. And when they come together, they can help those heal that have been affected. And so that is why we're talking about getting our schools back together as soon as we can. Our parents want a safe place for our students, and our schools are that safe place. We've seen outstanding work in the community recently. I know that Woodlawn High School, for example, had its football team there. They've been feeding that community. It's been an amazing sight out in the Woodlawn area. Scotlandville High the same way, Wildwood Elementary and Glasgow Middle. So our schools, as they're coming back to life, they're reaching out to the community around their schools, and that's a great thing. So this is a good time for us to come together as a community. And I want to reiterate this. We are asking all employees, that's all employees, to report to work this coming Monday, August 22nd, and the first day back for our students will be Wednesday, August 24th. Let me repeat that. This coming Monday, August 22nd, we are asking all employees to return to work. Our pre-K and our kindergarten students will return to work the following Monday, August 29th. So our pre-K and kindergarten students will return to work, to school, Monday, August 29th. I'm going to talk about a few different areas. Academics is number one, and that will always be number one for us. I'll also talk about human resources, facilities, transportation, child nutrition. So let's talk about academics first. I want to first say that we have an awesome staff here that has been working hard to make sure that our kids are going to get a quality education when they return to work. Michelle Clayton, our Deputy Superintendent, Donica Duggan, our communications person, Adam Smith, who is our Associate Superintendent, whose house flooded and his daughter's house flooded, and he's working in those facilities today to get his family back together. Andrea Okonski, Millie Williams, Catherine Fletcher, Gary Reese, Des Moines Rutledge, the cabinet, and all of the other people, executive directors in this office, they have been working tirelessly every day to get a plan for our students to return to school in a safe way. So let's talk about academics. We will be ready on the first day of school, which is next Wednesday, to serve our kids in the very best way we can. We have lost some resources in our schools, and I'll talk about that in just a moment, but academic-wise, we will be ready to go. Human resources, we're getting better every day on the data that we have for our employees and their situations. Currently, we think there's about a third of our employees who've been affected either by flooding or being displaced. And each day we get better data to get out there and get those contacts. Our principals have been a key piece of this puzzle to where they're contacting people. And when you have an event of this magnitude, people are spread all over. There are many of them may not even be in this state. And so we're trying to get those people back together and find out where we stand on human resources. And so our principals are a key piece to that. Let me talk about facilities now. And this is what everybody wants to know. We have 77 school sites, and 11 of those sites were impacted by water. Issues at Baton Rouge Magnet High School, Northdale, and Westdale Middle have already been resolved. So those schools will be ready to go and open. We in fact had the National Guard truck drivers at the Baton Rouge High site this past week where they've been carrying on their jobs from that site. So let me say that again. Baton Rouge Magnet High, Northdale, and Westdale are good to go. We'll receive students next Wednesday. And we're working around the clock to get two other schools ready to go, and those are Glen Oaks High School and Twin Oaks Elementary School. We have great partnerships with Airmark through ServiceMaster, who's now in those schools, and so we feel very confident that next Wednesday when students come to school, they will be able to return to Glen Oaks High School and Twin Oaks Elementary School. And that leaves us with relocating the populations of the following schools. Brookstown Middle School will relocate to Scotlandville Middle Magnet School. And I want to reiterate also that the sending schools that have flooded and also the receiving schools' principals have been in touch with each other to work out the details of these combination schools. And they will serve as a school in a school. So again, Brookstown Middle to Scotlandville Middle. Park Forest Middle School will move to Capitol Middle. Glen Oaks Park Elementary will move to Banks Elementary. Park Forest Elementary will move to Eden Park Elementary School. That will be an easy move. Eden Park had just, we were getting ready to do something else with that school. It was empty, so that's an easy move for Park Forest Elementary to go to Eden Park. And one thing I want to also mention is we did our best to try to move these schools en masse where they weren't separated and divided into other schools. So all these populations will move en masse from one school to another and serve as a school within a school. Howell Park Elementary will move to Claiborne Elementary. And we want to make sure that parents know that, and we want our students to not go enroll in another school. We want them to know they're going to be moving en masse from that where their school flooded to a new location. And if all possible, we want to keep them together. And that's what our goal is to do. We will set up a portal on our website for parents to give us information about changing transportation needs. Right now, and I'll talk about transportation in a moment, that is going to be our biggest challenge because students are displaced and not at the locations where they were when we started school last week. So again, we'll have a portal set up on our website, ebrschools.org, for parents to give us information about changing transportation needs. And we will also have sites for parents to provide us this information. And they can also contact their principal, their teacher, and people like that to help us get this information. This is going to be the biggest part, is getting information from parents about where you're relocating as when we start up again. Talk about transportation for a moment. Bus drivers who have not been in contact with their supervisor, please report to your supervisor as soon as possible. We know this population was hit especially hard. I think 40 to 50% were impacted. Most of the transportation buses are with the drivers. And so we do know of some that will be unable to be used next week. But I also want to say that we have a fleet of spare buses that we're looking into also being able to provide some transportation from those spare buses. Our real issue right now with transportation is the human capital. And that's what we're working on right now. They worked today to get bus drivers back to work to see what their situation is currently personally, because we want to help them, but also what is the condition of the bus. Our transportation office number is 226-3784. Transportation office number is 226-3784, and that's area code 225. So drivers, if you've not checked in, please check in and give us a status of how you are personally doing as well. Child nutrition has been, it has some very good news. The area around Choctaw and Ardenwood, although it was flooded, our fleet of delivery trucks is okay, and also all of our, excuse me, all of our freezers and cooler locations are good. So child nutrition is good to go to open for students next Wednesday. Let me talk about the volunteer efforts. We have had an outpouring of concern from districts all around us. I've spoken to superintendents from all around us and all around the state, and from people even out of the state, asking what they can do to help, and we really appreciate that. Head of our donation effort will be Keela Stovall. Ms. Stovall is over the EBR Foundation. So if anyone out there would like to donate, and this money goes directly to the schools, it's foundationebr.org, foundationebr.org, and Keela and Stacy Dupree and others will be handling this. And I want to reiterate again that we have great partners in Airmark and ServiceMaster who are in our schools right now 24/7 trying to make sure these schools are ready as soon as possible. And also when those schools are ready, then our students will be moved back into the original locations just as soon as possible. So I will stop there and see if there's any questions that may come up.
Warren, Brookstown Middle, that wasn't on your list yesterday. When did you find out about that?
We found out about that yesterday afternoon, and it is on the list right now. It doesn't look like it will be able to take students right now. That's currently good.
So how bad is it there?
There wasn't a lot of water there, a foot to 18 inches of water, and when that happens, it begins to get up into the, the technology and the desks and things like that. Once it goes above about a foot, you have a whole different process. And let me also mention to the bus drivers, if you're listening and you're a bus driver, if the water has reached the stairwell, you need to not start the bus, call transportation, we'll send a mechanic out. The mechanics have been working, by the way, this entire week. The mechanic shop was flooded, all the tools were flooded. Mechanics have been working this week in the mechanic shop, getting everything ready to go and set up for a start next Wednesday.
Warren, do you have
Yes.
an idea, when you're talking about transportation and figuring out these new routes, have you guys even begun to map that out yet?
We have. This is our biggest challenge. There's no doubt that the biggest challenge is picking up students where they are now. We will run the regular routes that we have planned for this year, but with that incoming information, as information comes in from principals and teachers and the hotline, as we get locations of those displaced students, we will add them to the routing. That is going to be the biggest challenge it is for any school district just about this time of year anyway. We just want to make sure our kids are safe, they're taken care of, and on those first days of school, it's going to be difficult. It's difficult even on a regular start of a school year with transportation, just getting everyone settled, and it usually takes a week or two. So that is our biggest challenge, but as we get that information coming in, we're going to reroute those students. Yes.
On a personal angle, we've been talking with a lot of law enforcement, sheriffs. They're saying that, the next step in this is to get back to normal. And part of that is the school opening up. As the superintendent, is that one of the things that you pushed your staff to do, is to try and get some normalcy back to these people that have been affected?
Absolutely. You cannot minimize the devastation to the people who've been affected in Baton Rouge. It is devastating, it is widespread, probably bigger than Katrina. But at the same time, right now, people are driving around Baton Rouge wondering, and it looks like a normal day. But I don't want to minimize the tragedy that's happened here, but at the same time, our schools are safe places. And parents are looking for places for their children to go, and our schools are the best place for them to be. So we need to resume some normalcy as soon as possible. There are people on both sides of that, and I understand that, and I respect their opinions. But in talking to people, and I was around when Katrina was here, and I've been around for a good while, and in talking to superintendents who've been through Katrina in particular, I said, what is the one piece of advice you could give me? And they said, get school opened as soon as possible. It won't be perfect. You won't have every employee. We understand that. We understand. We won't have every student in the school. We won't have every employee in the school. We won't have every bus ready to go. So it will be not perfect. But when we open up, it says to the community, we're back in business. Here's where we can get information from you. Here's where we can help you moving forward. And I think when kids come back to school, whatever that percentage is, then we can begin to help the community heal. Yes.
What about the need for any resources? I mean, I'm sure that some schools lost computers, or even, like you said, some of your staff is affected and they might not be able to come back. I mean, are you guys asking for any computers or even substitute teachers to come in?
The question is resources. Have we asked for those resources? I've been reached by districts all over the country and all over Louisiana. And yes, and Kilo Stovall through the EBR Foundation along with Stacy Dupree will be working that. They have all of that information. And we're going to need supplies. We will need uniforms and things like that. So we're working that through the EBR Foundation. And it's going to be a good thing.
What
Charles?
about Chromebooks? You guys you bought a bunch of them, you put them in schools. Do you have any sense of, I know the Professional Development Center was flooded. Do you have any sense of how many were damaged from it?
Yeah, we haven't evaluated all of that yet. All of the books were not out of the schools at the time either.
Do
So,
you have some sense of how many were still there?
do you know how many
We have
in the schools?
They're still giving us counts, so we really don't have a good number right now.
But not just a few. I mean,
Well, the restoration efforts are going on. We don't know how many are damaged or destroyed. The restoration efforts in the,
I understand at the schools, but at the PDC, we don't know how many were there.
I don't know the answer to that. We'll find out. But the Chromebooks that were out in the schools, we're not allowing, in those schools that are under restoration, only those restorers from those companies are in there working,
So they're sealed off.
yes, yes. People aren't going back into the schools to look at the classrooms and things like that. So we don't have a number on that right now, but we'll get it.
Do we have any sense if there's likely to be any other schools that have you been able to get to everyone and do a full evaluation, or there's still a school or two left that you're not sure about?
Well, Brookstown came up sort of suddenly yesterday, but I think that we now have a handle on all of the schools. And to be able to get Twin Oaks Elementary back, and Glen Oaks in particular back, is just a yeoman's effort. They're working 24/7 in those schools, and they will open with students next week, Glen Oaks High School and Twin Oaks Elementary. So I think that's great news, and as soon as schools come back online, we'll get those students back in those facilities.
Is there any grasp, if you go down the list of schools that students are gonna be relocated from one school to another, is there any grasp of the population, the number of students that will be going to a different school when they come back?
About 3,500 students will be moving to a school within a school. I think one of the good things that has come out of this is the principals of receiving and sending schools are communicating with each other. In fact, we met with those principals of those affected schools, and I think what was very powerful the other day was talking to them to say, if you could pick a school to go to right now, where would it be? And we showed them the ones that had capacity, and almost to a school, that's the ones they're going to. So I think they'll work very well together in those new locations.
This might seem frivolous, but you talk about getting back to a sense of normalcy. So many times athletics is that distraction for a community. Do you have any idea of what the athletic situation is going to be as we kind of get into the fall?
That's a great question. The question's on athletics. We are moving forward as normal on athletics. We've talked to the Louisiana High School Athletic Association. As you probably know, their facility was flooded too, so they're not even in their facility. But there will be some waivers. There's a general rule that says you must be in school to practice or to play, and so they've offered us waivers on those. We have two jamborees next Friday night. That's a week from tomorrow night. We had originally scheduled 3 jamborees, but the one at Scotlandville High School will not be taking place at Scotlandville. So those schools will relocate to Broadmoor and to Woodlawn High Schools. So the jamborees next Friday night will all be at either Woodlawn or Broadmoor High School.
Talk about getting back to normal. This is South Louisiana. People need their Friday night football.
They need their football, and it's right around the corner next Friday night. We appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to getting back to normal and getting our kids back. But most of all, we're looking forward to healing our families in our schools. Thank you.